Okay.
So, good morning, all, on this Christmas morning. Um, I was going back and forth in my mind. First, well, I know I'm really not the best person to give a Christmas Dharma talk because I grew up in a Jewish bubble and my mom was never into holidays anyway and never celebrated Christmas. But then I thought, well, maybe I'm the perfect person because I'm available this morning. Um, so the words came to me, which probably you all know very, very well, which is, holiday words, peace on earth, goodwill to men. I had to do a little research. Turns out it is not only a very well-known song, but it's also from the New Testament. All right, so goodwill to men. Well, that word men is outdated, at least here in Portland. I don't know where it might be in other places, but here in Portland and many other places, it's considered outdated. Now, for a while, it was, how I would talk about this was women and men. Of course, so now I've changed it to people, but I guess we want peace on earth for all sentient beings. At least that would be a Buddhist aspiration, not just humans. So, these couple of lines, these phrases, are associated specifically with today, Christmas and Christmas carols and holiday greetings. Um, but if you put this in a more Buddhist context, um, peace is another word, one translation for equanimity. And equanimity is what we have been teaching on this past week. And also, goodwill is a term that could be a translation for metta. And both of those, goodwill and peace, or as we commonly call it, friendliness and equanimity, are two of the four Brahma Viharas, the realm of the gods. And I would say probably Christmas at its best or at its aspirational is supposed to be a time when we feel and express these qualities. And that term, peace on earth, is really inspiring. So I have to say, though, I am a bit of a Scrooge humbug when it comes to aspirations that seem impossible, such as peace on earth, because I go, oh, it seems worse than it's ever been in terms of war rather than peace. But then how would I know? I only know what I read and who knows? I mean, how do you measure peace on earth now? Or, it certainly wasn't very peaceful in the 1940s, at least the early 1940s, or we can go back and anyway, and who knows? And it's impossible to compare. And that's why comparison is um, or I should say maybe letting go of comparison is another Buddhist aspiration, which of course these aspirations are impossible to actually, I think, fully realize. Maybe some people have, but I don't know them. So, but the problem with comparison is that there's no way to accurately compare in most situations. Again, looking at it through the lens of conditionality, there are so many conditions at play. Um, so how could we compare? How could I compare whether there is more or less peace on earth today than there was in a particular year? I don't know what's going on all over the world accurately. But then I realized that this used to be my fantasy as well. And when I was in graduate school back in the 1980s, I studied matriarchal history. And I'm talking about history way before the time of Jesus or way before the time of Buddha, like 5000 BCE and older than that, older than that. That was the most recent. And I studied with a little bit, I studied the work of and took a workshop from this gal, Maria Gimbutas. She's no longer alive, but she was an archaeologist who did these digs in what she called Old Europe. And according to her interpretation, she dug up these relics that proved to her, and she proved in the stuff I studied, that back then there were societies that were peaceful, that honored women, and that espoused economic equality. So I don't think I wasn't surprised when I did a little more research on her this morning, because I really haven't thought about her much in recent times. But I did a little more research and I realized that, of course, other researchers came on after her and refuted her work and said it wasn't valid. And then other people refuted the refutings. I don't know if that's good English, but there was this series of debates. And, and anyway, she was only studying old Europe. She didn't know about peace on earth. She was just saying it was peaceful here then. Who knows? But what I do know is that I found that possibility both hopeful and inspiring. And I'm not even sure I'm willing to let go of it now. Um, so, me who thinks that I'm not into this sort of thing, well, I guess I am. And maybe we all need some vision of a more peaceful world. And that is, I think, part of what this holiday that is about. So whether there's can ever be peace on earth is a big question, big stretch, big unknown. But coming back to the work we're doing together here, I think we can, over time, slowly develop more internal peace. And again, that is another translation for what's commonly translated as equanimity. And as we've said in these other talks this week, we are not suggesting that you could or should be peaceful about everything that's going on internally, externally, with people on this earth, of this world. Um, we're not suggesting that's way too high a bar. And as I think you all know, we have problems with high bars because it leads to disappointment and feeling bad internally, or can lead there after the inspiration. But really what we are in, trying to support is a way to hold the tumult and the chaos of life on earth and life internally with a little more equanimity, with a little less resistance, with a little less struggle. So back to that goodwill part of the peace on earth, goodwill to whoever you wish to send it to. So, this is a day where we hope to feel that goodwill, that metta towards the people you encounter today in your life. And this probably is a skillful, appropriate aspiration. And it certainly feels wonderful when we feel more internal peace and friendliness. Though if you don't feel that towards some of the people you run into or share this day with, I encourage you to be satisfied or understand that holding it with a little more equanimity, this not such goodwill, is really the practice, a practice. So I'll just end with an aspiration. You can see at this point I have mixed feelings about aspirations.